YouTube channel was up and running. I was being published on the Huffington Post blogging platform, which was getting attention internationally to my content. And again, color analysis was not popular like it is right now. And so I was trying to explain, in essence, to people what color analysis even was in some cases to try to get clients. Being #1 Google search for color analysis Toronto too was a huge help, just to recap where we are. This part I'm going to talk about, again, the next few years in the industry. And so at some point I decided to stop being a hair assistant. Making minimum wage and sweeping floors was not in harmony with me, and I knew instinctively too that hair really wasn't my passion. And so I decided to focus on color analysis, style consultations, and also only doing hair color to convert clients to their optimal hair color ranges. A lot of learnings happened with that intersection in terms of converting people to their optimal hair colors, in terms of emotional reactions and some psychology around color. But because color analysis and style consultations really weren't of high interest, like it's not popular as it is right now, it really wasn't keeping me occupied full time. And so I spent a lot of time in worry mode or figuring out, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? Because remember, I'm living off my savings. Other things that happened was I got my hairstyling license, reading from my notes again. I actually taught a few times the George Brown College Color and Wardrobe course, which was fantastic and fun. I took color healing training because I have a high degree of interest in the energy aspect of color. And so that's an interesting intersection between color analysis. And I continued developing my YouTube content and my Huffington Post blogs. But financially, though, it wasn't enough to sustain me. Because don't forget, I'm also a mother and my son was in university at the time. So what did I do? I went back to my old employers and said, do you have any part-time contracts? And one of them did a couple times, so I would take those part-time contracts. And so that particular contract, I was like managing large national projects, and that was part-time. And so the next day I might have been coloring hair or doing color analysis. It was a weird sort of switchover day to day. And again, in the earlier video, I was pushing my shopping cart of color analysis fabrics back and forth to Studio Fontana, most of the times with a garbage bag over it. So that was an interesting dynamic, because I would go into an office and work in a project management role, and then the next day I'd be wheeling a cart. So I really started seeing color analysis and hair clients part-time. I took the style consultation mix out of that umbrella at some point because it wasn't my passion. I also, in that time range, took a full-time senior business system analyst role because I used to do that as well, and it was a really expansive project. And so I literally would work 5 days a week and do the color and hair thing on the weekends. I didn't want to let go of my flame and passion of color analysis, because my gut knew, and the little voice was telling me, it's all going to work out, Carol. This, taking these contracts is just to get you through. Somewhere in that, at the time, to become more financially efficient and perhaps save a bit of more money, I decided to see clients in my 420 square foot condo. Big mistake. I would never recommend that. So I stopped going with my cart to Studio Fontana because I was working so much. So I said, do you know what? Let's just see people in my home and see how that goes. Big mistake. Because as my YouTube channel was growing, there were a couple weird situations, and I didn't like people knowing where I lived. If you're watching this and are starting out your career as a color analysis professional, I know it's an expense to pay rent somewhere. as you get clients. Even having a business line, I get it's an extra expense, but I highly recommend, if you plan to make this your full-time career and blossom in it, to not invite people into your home for your business, or even have your personal number for your business. If you can, separate them. If it was to go back, I would not have seen people in my home or shared my personal number. After those few weird situations, I went back to Studio Fontana and I called it pop-up shop day. So I had color analysis pop-up shops there. And if you go back to my Instagram and scroll through earlier videos, you'll see me recording videos where I'm saying it's color analysis pop-up shop day at Studio Fontana. Those were done on the weekends. I literally was, at that time, I think, working 5 days a week with my contracts. And at some point in all that, I decided officially that hair wasn't my thing. Like, my passion was color analysis. And so I completely dropped doing hair, and I would do color analysis only and send people to other stylists at Studio Fontana for their hair color transition. My color analysis business too was really starting to take off between the Google search thing and word of mouth. Like, sometimes people would even fly to Toronto to come see me from far off, and I felt so honored. And so it was really just my weekend thing, and I was seeing it take off a bit. One day I listened to these voices in my head and my gut, and then one day I thought, well, there's eye patterns, natural hair colors we know we can understand virtually, and we can likely see some skin aspects virtually, because the system I use is based on like science and color theory interacting with science. And so I really started thinking about the virtual space. Could I develop a new service? Because all throughout these years too, I always played around with developing new products and services to test them out and test interest and test different pricing levels, because that's what you do as an entrepreneur. Some products and services worked and some didn't. And so it was constantly a product and service offering expansion or not, taking services away that weren't working. And so the virtual service came out of that sort of logic. I'm going to test out doing a virtual service. And it was so not expensive. Like, the first service that I offered was like 20 Canadian dollars, because that's what you do when you start up a service that, you're just testing out and is unproven and is in fact a new thing for the industry. I bought the domain name virtualcoloranalysis.com, and color is spelt with the US spelling, and it still forwards to my carolbraley.com website to this day. Based on other things I was seeing going on online as well, I took inspiration to try to build more virtual products and services, and if you follow me through the years, I offered stuff and then I didn't, and it's just playing around with what works and what doesn't for you and your clients and your business. Everything that I developed for my virtual color analysis service in those early days was 100% developed by me. That's why I'm not so cool when people take my intellectual property. Next part, I'll cover the two things that have changed things forever, in my opinion. My son moved into the living room of my 420 square foot condo, and COVID happened. I'm going to talk about the expansion of virtual color analysis.